Hey everybody, this is Anthony from VR Game Rankings. Welcome to our daily vlog series. This, of course, is episode 37 for Wednesday, November 22nd. And once again, I want to apologize for not having an episode yesterday, but I am back, and so we are back into it. And let's just go ahead and jump right into the news. I have a handful of news stories to get into, so let's just go ahead and bounce through them. Now, normally I will put the biggest news stories first and kind of go down the line like this, but right now I actually have my news stories completely out of order, but that's okay. We're just going to go ahead and go through these news stories and figure them out as we go along. Okay, so the first news story I have, Green Man Gaming has some pretty good deals that are going on right now for VR games. I'm not sure if this is a Black Friday deal and that this is going to be going on for a number of days, or if this could be a relatively temporary sale. So you might want to jump on this real quick if you're trying to get any of these games. So I took a look at what they have on sale. They have a lot of flat games on sale as well, but they do have a handful of VR games. And the ones that really jumped out to me the most, you have Batman Arkham VR is on sale for $10. That's half off. You have Mortal Blitz on sale for $12. You have Adrift for $5, which I believe is 75% off. Arizona Sunshine is $28. And Lethal VR is $3.75. I believe that is a really big discount as well. And Surgeon Simulator ER is $10, which I believe is half off. Now, there's a lot of other games that are discounted in this deal. I picked out these 6 games in specific because I felt like the discount was pretty decent, and these are also known as relatively good games. In fact, Lethal VR, I've heard a lot of good things about Lethal VR, and I've never actually played it. And for $3.75, not a bad possibility in regards to Lethal VR. So that's one I'm definitely considering. I'm also considering Adrift. Never actually played Adrift myself. Heard a lot of different things about Adrift in terms of motion sickness, and there was a lot of controversy about whether or not it would actually use move control, well, not move controllers, but like the HTC Vive motion controllers when it came to the HTC Vive, and it doesn't really have that kind of implementation. From what I understand, it's best to play Adrift just with a controller is the better way to play Adrift. But I've never played Adrift. I've never played Lethal VR. Those are two I might want to check out on this particular deal. And Batman Arkham VR, if you've never played Batman, for $10, not a bad deal whatsoever. So you might want to check out Green Man Gaming. Okay, my next news story is budget cuts. So this is not really like a major news story by any stretch of the imagination, because there isn't like any kind of an official announcement that is coming from Neat Corporation. But Ben Lang of Road to VR fame, and it's funny because I had Ben Lang in Monday's episode of the daily vlog, and now I'm having Ben Lang in this episode. So back-to-back episodes for Ben Lang to be featured on VR Game Rankings daily vlog. But Ben Lang, apparently he was talking to some people at Neat Corporation and basically just asking them, you know, how's everything going? Is everything going good? Is the game still coming along? You know, that sort of thing. And Marco Permanto of Neat Corp replied to him and basically said what he said, and this is from the Road to VR article. What he basically said is, we're spending minimal time on PR in order to focus on development of the game, seeing as we are such a small team. This understandably leads to people wondering about the status. Just rest assured, we're working on the game like a lot. Okay, so that was Neat Corporation developer Marco Permanto, who was commenting to Ben Lang. So basically, budget cuts development is still underway, and what this is we've wondered for a long time what is going on with budget cuts. I've said a number of times, I think the original demo that budget cuts had if that original demo was not available, if there was no demo, and instead, if Budget Cuts was simply an early access game and they were charging, say, $9.99 for what essentially is the Budget Cuts demo, which is about a 23-minute sequence, they could have made millions of dollars, I believe, in all of this time. Remember, the Budget Cuts demo was available on April 6th when the HTC, was it April 6th or April 5th, when the HTC Vive launched back in 2016. Okay, well over a year. I mean, we're going to be approaching 2 years this next April. And they could have been selling this game all this time. Now, a lot of people would say, well, you know, it's only a 22-minute game. Hey, there's a lot of stuff that is only 22 minutes, and they're selling it as well. They could have sold it for $5. You're telling me 100,000 people wouldn't pay $5 for that? So they could have made some decent amount of money in all of this time. And I just feel like they've left a lot of money on the table. Now, of course, they're working to make a much better game. And the hope is, the long-term hope with Budget Cuts is what we saw with the demo is just going to be like 1/8 or 1/10 of what the final experience is. And there's going to be a lot more to it. And so it's going to be interesting. But I know that I've talked with Gary VR Roundtable, and he's kind of wondered, are we still going to be impressed with Budget Cuts after all this time? Because back when Budget Cuts first came out, it was tremendously impressive. It was doing things that a lot of VR games weren't doing. It just felt so good, and everything just felt dialed in. And now, you know, this is almost 2 years later now, and we have so many more games now that are more polished, and they're doing this type of thing. So is Budget Cuts going to have the same kind of impact? Also, how much is this final game going to cost? There's a lot of questions out there. Now, VR Game Rankings, we have Budget Cuts as a Q2 release. It could come in very early 2018, but we personally feel like Budget Cuts is probably going to come in the second quarter, basically about 2 years after that original demo launch. So that is Budget Cuts. It is still alive and well. People are still extremely excited for the arrival of Budget Cuts, but we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. Okay, next news story I have, Rec Room is out in open beta on PlayStation VR. And a side story is Upload VR had this story on Rec Room about it being some hugely important application for VR in general. So I'm going to go ahead and cover both of these news stories. So yeah, Rec Room is now available in open beta for PlayStation VR, and this is great news for PlayStation VR players because Rec Room has a lot of stuff going on in it. There's a lot of things you can do. And I've played Rec Room on my HTC Vive. I haven't actually played it on the Oculus Rift, which is kind of interesting. I probably should fire this game up again because a lot of things have been added to Rec Room since the last time I fired it up. And I do want to play it on PlayStation VR as well. I just want to, you know, for general curiosity's sake, I want to try it on PlayStation VR to see what PSVR players are going to get from this kind of experience. How is paintball going to work on PSVR without having like legitimate room scale and those kinds of questions? So it's very interesting to see what is going to happen with Rec Room on PSVR. Now, another additional little news story here as well is there's a lot of complaints on all of the various subreddits about too many children being in Rec Room. And that's probably just going to get much worse as it expands to PlayStation VR. PlayStation VR being more of a family type of VR console, there's probably going to be a lot more kids running around in Rec Room. And so a lot of players have been complaining and they want to have some kind of like adult version of Rec Room and a non-adult version of Rec Room and try to segment the audiences that way because they feel like the kids are kind of ruining Rec Room. I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I haven't been in there in a long time. I do know that every once in a while you'll get into Rec Room and you will have some griefers that will get inside there. And I'm talking about the lobby area where people will screw around. They'll, you know, do all kinds of crazy. I've seen a lot of weird things happen in Rec Room, but it's still cool to see it come to PSVR. And the story that Upload VR had, why they're saying that this is such a hugely important application for VR in general, is the fact that now that Rec Room is on PlayStation VR, it's also on Oculus Rift, it's also on the HTC Vive. So it's across all three of these platforms, but it's also coming soon to Microsoft mixed reality platforms as well. So it's basically going to be on all of the primary VR platforms out there, and there will be cross compatibility as far as we know between all of them. So you'll be able to play with mixed reality players, you'll be able to play with PlayStation VR players, Rift players, and Vive players, and they feel like having this kind of application available for all the headsets, and it kind of brings VR together, that this is very important. And I don't know, I don't know that it's not important. I don't know that it's this huge major thing, but it is nice to see that Rec Room will be available across all of these platforms. It's one of the best free content that we have in all of VR. There's no question about that. And it's good to see that it's going to get out there to a larger portion of people. Okay, so it is November 22nd, Wednesday, November 22nd, and this is the release of the Exorcist Legion VR. The Exorcist Legion VR is available today. Now, here is how it works if you want to buy this, okay? So the Exorcist Legion VR is $4, and that's the sale price, normally $5. But if you buy that, all you're getting chapter 1, which is First Rites, okay, which is a 20 to 25 minute experience. Okay, now you can also buy the Idle Hands DLC, which is chapter 2. Now this is $5 if you want to buy it separately. And then there is a bundle deal where you can get both chapter 1 First Rites and chapter 2 Idle Hands. You get them in a bundle deal for a little bit over $8, $8.08. Okay, so that's what's out there right now. So basically, you could just buy chapter 1 if you want for $4 and try that out, or you can get both chapters for $8, or you can just get chapter 1, try that out, and then later on you can grab Idle Hands for another $5. So there's a lot of options here, but the thing that you have to understand is that these are bite-sized chunks. These are not full-length games. We're talking 20 to 25 minutes of gameplay in the Exorcist Legion VR. VR Roundtable got a preview code to this game yesterday, and I actually got in there and I was able to try out First Rites. And I don't have like a real detailed take on this. I didn't play it a ton of time. I played it a while. I had to do something else. I had to get out of it. It definitely does have 20 to 25 minutes worth of playtime in it. The problem that I had with it in playing it yesterday, I still think it's worth grabbing for $4. This is Wolf and Wood Interactive, and it does have some good stuff going on. There were certain parts in it where I got scared really good, okay? Because while I'm relatively immune to horror in a lot of these VR games, one of the things I've always been kind of freaked out though is by like devil type stuff, like satanic type stuff. Like when it comes to horror movies, I'm more interested in the horror movies with like monsters and, supernatural type stuff. When they start to get into all this devil stuff and like the exorcism and all that stuff, I don't know, it gets a little bit weird for me because I grew up as a Catholic, raised as a Catholic. And you're taught this, you're taught stuff like this in Sunday school. And there's something about, the devil and all this stuff, and I don't really want to get involved with that. And so when I was in this experience last night, there is a lot of, it's a very church related, it's Catholic church and it's happening in a church, and you're this detective and you're trying to figure out what is going on, and somebody was killed and you're kind of investigating it. And so that's kind of how the experience is. But I'll tell you what, it can definitely bring some fright, and it can definitely freak you out at certain points. I got stuck at a certain point in this experience and couldn't figure out how to basically trigger the next scenario. And so I have to go back into it and try it more. But from what I've played of it, one of the criticisms I do have of it is you're able to walk around in free locomotion, but you walk incredibly slow. This is the slowest walk I've ever seen, I think, in any VR game. So you're walking incredibly slow. The other thing that really irritates me about it is it has a version of snap turning, but all it does is it flips you 90 degrees. So you hit a button, there's like a delay, and then it flips you 90 degrees. I like the snap turning where it's more, quarter based snap turning, kind of Resident Evil 7 style, or like Skyrim is right now, where you can hit the two buttons and kind of snap turn around. And in this one, it's you hit it one time, it's 90 degrees, there's a delay, it kind of goes black, and then it reopens up. And so it's not this instantaneous, switch. And then the walking speed is rather slow. Those were the two things that probably irritated me about the experience and what I've tried of it so far. But again, this is $4. It's bite-sized. You can go ahead and try out the first rights for $4, see how you like it, and at the end of that, if you're not satisfied, then you don't have to pay any more money. That's the good side of episodic content. If it doesn't do it for you, then you don't pay for anything else. If it does do it for you, you go ahead and you grab yourself Idle Hands DLC for an additional $5. So it's not that big of a deal. And then Chapter 3, Chapter 4, Chapter 5, those chapters will be coming either later this year or very early in 2018. So that is the Exorcist Legion VR. It is currently available today. Okay, some other news on Steam. Skyworld has a demo. So you might remember back to, I believe it was around October 19th or so, Brass Tactics was supposed to come out for the Oculus Rift, and this was by Hidden Path Entertainment, and this was considered maybe one of the biggest real-time strategy games in VR up to this point in time. Like, this was going to be the prime time game, right? So it got delayed. Brass Tactics got delayed, I believe, into February, but don't quote me on that. I'd have to double check. But what happened was Brass Tactics got delayed, but Skyworld came out, and it was a tremendous opportunity for Skyworld because they didn't have to deal with this head-to-head with Brass Tactics, so they had to market all of themselves. So Skyworld has been available for a while now. Excuse me, but I don't know that it has sold exceptionally well. Now, the price is $40. It's not exactly cheap. It's a premium title. But the good news is a demo is now available on Steam. So if you've always been interested in maybe trying out this game, Skyworld, but you were scared by the $40 price and you just didn't want to go down that road, well, now you have a demo that you can try out. So that is definitely good news for all involved. I'm not really a real-time strategy guy myself. I've tried a number of real-time strategy games. I played Tethered on PlayStation VR for a little while, and I've tried a handful of other real-time strategy games. Not really my particular cup of tea, but now that there is a demo for this, I have no problem with downloading the demo and maybe giving it a try and seeing if it strikes my fancy. Who knows? This is published by Vertigo Games. Now, I don't believe they're the actual developer of Skyworld. I think it's Wolf Dog Interactive. But it is nice to see that there is a demo. And I think we need to celebrate whenever we have primetime VR demos, because we used to get a lot more demos very early in the HTC Vive life cycle, and it doesn't seem like we get as many demos anymore, which is a little unfortunate. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next story. Okay, so this this next story here, this may be the biggest story actually of the bunch. And what it is, Rolling Stone had this article about VR not being dead. And so we've talked about this a lot in the last several weeks. It started off with the CCP Games announcement that they're closing down their VR production. And then we kind of talked about how the Serious Sam sales were really disappointing. Talos Principle sales, relatively disappointing. Heart of the Emberstone, stuff like that. And so there was kind of this general feeling in the world of VR that things are starting to fall apart and that the VR dream that we were all dreaming might be in danger. So Rolling Stone has this new article where they're basically saying that Oculus does not believe that VR is dead and that everything is fine type of thing. Now, Brian Crescente, apparently wrote this article. I didn't know, like Brian Crescente, I remember he was with Kotaku forever, and then I think he went to Polygon for a long time, and I guess now he's at Rolling Stone, and he's working for, I guess, Glixel. And the thing about Glixel, I remember Glixel was being run by John Davidson, the old guy, the guy from EGM, and he's done a ton of things. He's been involved with a ton of stuff, but he worked for EGM for a long time, One Up and stuff like that. Was in the podcast Weekend Confirmed, or the original the One Up Show podcast, kind of famous for that. So Glixel kind of got shut down, I thought, and all the Glixel people that were there got let go, as far as I knew, but maybe I guess they brought it back, and they brought Brian Crescente as their main guy now. So he wrote this article, and it's funny because I read this article completely, all the way through, and there were a lot of like spelling errors and grammatical errors. And, I don't want to throw rocks from a glass house, because I run a website, VR Game Rankings, and I know that there's grammatical errors on my website. I know there's spelling errors on my website. In fact, I've been on my I've been checking certain things on my website, and I realized that I had like the wrong word or something misspelled, and it was left like that for like a month, and I didn't realize it until like a month later, and I'm like, oh my God, for a month this has looked like this? How amateur is this? Now, in my defense, I'm a one-man show. VR Game Rankings right now is basically a one-man show. This guy's working for Rolling Stone. You would think they would have a legitimate editor that would check these articles out. So I was kind of surprised by that. But as far as what the article was really talking about, the gist of the article was that people at Oculus, like Jason Rubin was quoted in this, and they basically feel like they're in the desert stage, or it's basically another way for saying the trough of disillusionment is basically what it's called. And so the trough of disillusionment is like a new product comes out, there's a lot of hype, the hype kind of fades away, and then you get into this area where it's like, is this really going to do anything, And so the hype kind of fades away. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And Jason Rubin was talking about that this is actually a good thing, because now the VR games that get made and the experiences that get made will be more of the kind of experiences that aren't built on hype and stuff like that. And it's going to kind of balance itself out and work itself out, and we're going to work our way through this. And so that's interesting. I don't know. There's nothing real, not a real story here from this standpoint, because certainly Oculus, if you work for Oculus, obviously you have to look to the bright side of things, and you have to feel like, everything is fine, it's going to be fine, and we're going to get there. And I really feel like that is the case. But I do feel next year, my worry is that next year things are really going to slow down quite a bit, and it's going to be more indie games, a lot more indie games. We'll get some VR remakes and stuff, but a lot of it's going to slow down. Although the hope is PlayStation VR. Honestly, if you're a Vive or a Rift owner, you really should root for PlayStation VR, because that's our best hope right now. If you're primarily an HTC Vive gamer and an Oculus Rift gamer, you got to root for the PlayStation VR's success, because more success for the PlayStation VR, a lot of these development studios, they're going to make a Vive and a Rift version, because it's not going to cost them that much more to do it. They've already done a lot of the work that is necessary, and it's not going to take them that much more work. So a lot of PlayStation VR games are going to come over to the Rift and the Vive. So if PSVR continues to be very successful, this could really help us out. So that's one of the things I'm looking forward to as far as that goes. Speaking of PSVR, I'll go ahead and close out this show on two minor bits of news that are PSVR related. Number one, Farpoint is on sale on PSN. You can get Farpoint for $29.99, $30. The normal price is $50, so it's $20 off. Now, the downside is you can't download the AIM controller over the internet. I wish you could. But so the question is, do you buy Farpoint for $30 on sale, which is a good deal, but you don't have the gun, And so there is the bundle with Farpoint and the gun, which I believe is $80. And I think it's more available at, like, you can find it at certain Walmarts and stuff. You can actually find this bundle occasionally, but it's $80. So it is a little bit more pricey. But if you, I don't know anybody that would already have the gun. You wouldn't already have the gun. So I guess Farpoint for $30, if you want to try playing through the game with a DualShock 4 controller, I mean, you could do it, but it would be a little bit disappointing. You know, I certainly would want to play through it with the aim controller myself. So anyway, but it's good that it's on sale. I think you can get the aim controller separately, but I don't think you'd be saving any money. So in other aim controller news and the aim controller bundle news, Bravo Team. So this is on the GameStop website. Bravo Team is going to have an aim controller package. I believe this is going to be $80, just like the Farpoint package. Now, Bravo Team was delayed. It was supposed to come out December 6th. It got delayed till March 7th. So we're not going to see this Bravo Team bundle until all the way at March 7th. But there is a new aim controller bundle. So actually, you know, I mean, it's too bad. If this Bravo Team bundle was available right now, you could buy this Bravo Team bundle and then buy Farpoint individually for $30. Unfortunately, we have to wait. Bravo Team is March 7th, so we're going to have to wait for that. But it's nice to see that there are going to be new bundles packed in with the aim controller, because Sony can continue to do this. Every so often, they could have a new major game that uses the aim controller, and it's a way to kind of pump that controller up and get it into the hands of a lot more people. And then a lot more developers can add special aim modes into their game, where if you have the aim controller, you can go into the menu and activate it, and maybe it takes advantage of that. I know there's certain games like Dick Wild, I believe, uses the aim controller. I think Brookhaven Experiment uses the aim controller. Doom VFR actually uses the aim controller as well, although there's been some mixed reactions to whether or not that is a good or bad way to play Doom VFR. But it's nice to see that there will continue to be bundles with different games and the aim controller. And it appears that Sony, in regards to this aim controller, it's not a one-off deal. They're going to continue to support this aim controller, and that is good news as well. Alrighty, guys, I'm really close to the 28-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. This, of course, is Wednesday, November 22nd, and this is episode 37 of VR Game Rankings Daily Vlog Series, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving, but I'm still going to bang out a show on Thanksgiving. I'm going to make up for missing the show yesterday, and I have a plan to do a show on Black Friday as well. So we'll still have 2 more shows coming this week, and be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already subscribed, go ahead and like the video and tell somebody about this vlog. There's a lot of people that still don't know that there is a daily vlog, this VR Game Rankings daily vlog. They might be interested in it. They might want to check it out. So go ahead and spread the word. Alrighty, guys, I'll see you tomorrow. Take it easy. Later.